And thank you for joining us today on SpEd. I'm your host, Sonya Dunn. And on our show today, we have Managing Principal Christopher Waddell from the Waddell Group. And he will be talking to us today in regards to estate planning for children with special needs. Thank you for being on our show
Thank you for having me.
One of the key questions that some of our viewers have is what exactly is it as far as estate planning?
Estate planning is trying to figure out what's going to be left and what resources are going to be available to our families. So really the question that, particularly for special needs families, need to address is how can they position their resources in such a way that they complement what benefits they might be able to have rather than replace.
So I understand that as far as in estate planning, there's something called a plan of care. Mm-hmm. What does that exactly entail as far as a plan of care?
A plan of care, and it would vary based on the individual, but trying to figure out how is this person going to be taken care of, what kind of things do they like to do, what services do they need, and how much is it going to cost?
As far as in regards to deciding what type of estate planning that you need versus a trust or a living will, what should a parent look for in determining which is the best fit for them?
Really, if I could take a step back, okay. The problem that special needs families have is that the disability system is kind of tied to being impoverished.
Okay.
And so if you can be disabled, but if you have some money, and some money being defined as more than $2,000, right, then you don't get to have any of these other government benefits.
Okay, so is there a different, is planning for a child with special needs much different than planning for a child who doesn't have special needs?
Oh, it's very different.
How?
Because the assets need to be positioned in such a way that they do not prevent the other government benefits that child or individual might be eligible for. And if that child has any money over $2,000, then the benefits would be lost, and an application process would have to be restarted if that were even possible.
So how would a parent go about determining what to put in a estate plan for their child so it wouldn't affect the benefits as far as from the state?
A special needs trust is really the basic standard of having an asset that is able to support the individual without costing government benefits. And so just about anything can go into the trust, but you need to have a trust or some other vehicle like that that will enable the resources to be used for the person's benefit, but not require those resources to be used for that person's benefit.
So are there different types of trusts that a parent as far as could use in order to set their child up for the future?
Yeah, there are two basic trusts, and it kind of depends on whether the child already has some assets, and those would be put into what's called a payback trust, which means if there's anything left, that Medicaid would be paid back with whatever remaining resources there were. And then there's a third-party trust, which means that those are parent resources, and a parent could direct that if there's anything left in the trust that was not needed by the trust, that could be distributed to other family members.
So as far as from your experience, as far as which one do most parents lean towards, the payback trust or the parent family trust?
The third-party trusts are really an important thing to establish, and really a first-party trust is really only required if there's a settlement. So sometimes an injury would have caused that, where the child has provided some resources and then has their own resources. And a third-party trust is really sort of a bucket that's an important bucket to have so that you can direct the family resources to someplace.
Now, is it best to use an attorney or as far as a financial planner to create such a trust?
You're probably going to need both. An attorney will create the legal document. A financial advisor will really help the family decide what documents are appropriate and what the strategies are. In any financial decision, there's usually a this side and a that side. And families are often unsure as to how to do that, and attorneys don't necessarily get involved in, after the legal document is created, and so really the document needs to be used. And so those of us who've worked with families over time have got some strategic ideas that are important to kind of put in there.
Now, as far as I understand, you have 21 years of experience being a financial planner, and over 18 years experience as far as working with families with special needs, correct?
Yes.
What should a family look for in a financial planner? I mean, is there special qualifications they should look for in order to make sure they have the right fit for their family?
Well, I think the Certified Financial Planner's designation, which is from the College for Financial Planning, is probably the gold standard for choosing a financial advisor.
Okay.
An independent financial advisor is also an important feature. Somebody who works for the client and not for an insurance company or a broker-dealer or an investment company, because the family needs to have somebody who's on their side, and only an independent person can really provide that kind of service.
Are there different guidelines as far as for children who have special needs, as far as looking for the best way to have assets as far as into a trust?
The assets can be done in different ways. One of the important strategies that people need to think about is, where's my kid going to live, and how am I going to provide for that? And do I want to be in the Northern Virginia area? Many of us would like to have our family members be part of the community. In different parts of the state, people have more of an institutional approach, and so that there's a difference in terms of how those resources are used and what families, how families want to proceed.
What about as far as a minor versus an adult child? Is there something as far as do you always need a guardian, whether it's a minor or an adult child?
Yeah, the way it works, and we sometimes talk in terms of infrastructure, and a person with special needs, needs some infrastructure, and that's usually provided by a parent. But after 18, the state of Virginia says that anybody who's 18 can make a good legal decision. Well, not even regular 18-year-olds fall into that category.